What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. We have another Magic Warden build. I have gameplay of this one I'm going to add at the end. It's a little bit different than my last build. It has a different set on the back bar, it has a different set on the front bar. It's a lot different actually than my last one. It has a different mythic, so it is a completely different build here. But as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope that these stairs give you severe anxiety and fear of heights. Watch out. But anyways, let's get into it. Alright, so the character screen, we are sitting at 27,000 magic and 34,500 health. We're at 13,000 stamina. We're at 1,700 magic recovery, and then 2,100 plus another 200-ish from our Betty Nest, so we're at about 2,300 magic recovery. We're at 3,700 spell damage before we get our other buffs, which we do get a lot of other buffs. Our crit is 44%, which is very, very good for a Warden, because a Warden gets a passive. I think I get 12 or 16% extra crit damage on this build, so that's really nice. And then we have 19,000, hold up. So 27,021 on the back bar and 25 and 19 on the front, which is solid, to be honest, because we have such strong heals that it's not going to make that much of a difference. And then we have 1,800 crit resist, which gets up to 3,600 on the build. We have 15 into magic and 49 into health. Adjust that as you see fit. Alright, so we have, let's see, we are a Breton. A Breton is a must, I think, for all magic builds, to me, in my opinion, but that's just how I feel. We're using Witch Mothers for the extra recovery. We're using the Atronach for even more recovery, and then we have Vampirism Stage 3. Alright, so the gear, let's just get into it real quick. We're using a throwback set, okay? Don't hate, appreciate. This set is good. Alright, so this set got changed in the past. It used to hit really hard on the one hit that it did, but they changed it to kind of fix the Nightblades one-shotting everyone, which they still one-shot anyone with Tarnished Nightmares. I don't know why they even changed anything, because it's all the same, if you know what I mean. But it is what it is. So what they did now with this set is that they made it hit less often. Calirian's Legacy, they made it hit every 5 seconds instead of every 15 or whatever it was, but it does a lot less damage. So it procs more often, but less damage, so it's more sustainable rather than bursting people in one hit. But we have Precise on it. Now the reason we have Precise is because we're wearing a lot of light armor, so we already are sitting at 5,300 or 5,400 before our minor and major breach anyways. So we get another 10k, about a little bit less than 10, but close to 10. So we get 15,000 anyways, so I figured, well, let's go Precise to beef up that crit chance, which makes us hit extremely hard on this build, because we get so much extra crit damage because of our Frost Staff, because of the passive and Warden, so we're getting a lot of extra crit damage, so it's very, very nice. Alright, so that is what we're running for the front bar. So if you don't know, Calirian's Legacy does crit chance, spell damage, crit chance, and then when you deal critical damage with a light or heavy attack, which is very often because you have 44%, you're finding a projectile that deals, let me check the actual tooltip, it deals 4,000, that can be flame, frost, shock, or disease, and also applies this status effect, which can happen every 5 seconds. Alright, so if you do flame damage, with it, it's just random, it's 1 in 4 chance, whatever it may be, but if you do flame damage, you're going to apply that little burn. If you do the frost, you're going to apply chilled, which hits harder on Magden because of our passive, so that's really nice. So you're going to do an extra like 1,500 with that, so it's doing like 5,500 because it's applying the frost. You're doing 4,000 shock, which will do concuss, and then disease, which will reduce healing, so it's very, very nice. And then it happens every 5 seconds. It hits hard. It procs really well with our deep fissure, so it'll usually hit at about the same time, which is really, really nice. It beefs up our damage a lot. 4,000 every 5 seconds doesn't seem like a crazy amount, but it feels really good considering we have a lot of crit. So it's gonna hit hard. It does crit a lot of the time as well because of the 50% crit, but it's really, really good. So right now I'm liking it. If you don't like it, I mean, that's up to you. If you don't like it, it is what it is. But I'm a big fan of this set right now, and I do like the Precise. If you don't want to go Precise, you could drop it and go Sharpened. That's completely your choice. I think either one is solid. I've used sharpened many times. It's very, very good. We're using a crown lethal potion, or a poison, not potion, a poison, just because, I mean, it's just good, and poisons are amazing, and they're free. You get them all the time for your daily reward, so I use them. On the back bar, we are using a bread and butter typical set, which is a rallying cry. Now, I have powered. I think defending's better right now, especially because we're light, so it would be a little bit better to change it, which I probably will transmute it. But we're using a resto staff with Berserker on it. Now, if you don't want to use a resto staff, you can go and use one-handed shield. I mean, this is totally your choice. Both of them work. One-handed shield's going to be nice to block, but we have a frost staff, so we can block on the front bar with our frost staff, which is why I went with a resto. So if you don't know what Rallying Cry does, it gives crit, magic, crit, and then while Battle Spirit is active, so anytime you're in PvP, hitting a crit heal, which is going to happen all the time, causes you and up to 11 other group members, so anyone near you is going to get weapon and spell damage plus crit resistance for 20 seconds, so it has 100% uptime. So if you're in a BG and anyone's near you, it's going to lower the amount if we're close to them by a little bit. But the value you get from this is just absolutely absurd. Number one, it's light armor, so you're getting all the damage from light armor because you're wearing light. Number two, you're getting weapon and spell damage, which is just beautiful. And then number three, you're getting crit resist, which is going to save your life so much because a lot of people do run crit builds right now. So you're getting a mix of team utility, offensive capability, and defense at the same time. Plus, it has a pretty much 100% uptime. So yeah, it's a really, really good set. Everyone runs it. It's just good. It's a solid set that isn't super OP, but it's also really, really strong. Like, I don't think this set is stupid by any means. It's just a good set. It's just solid. That's all. Like, it's just a nice, solid set. So, yeah, that's what Rallying Cry does. So our monster set, this is a flex spot. Now, right now I'm running Kaljar's Nightmare. Now, if you don't know what Kaljar's Nightmare does, it's a really, really good CC and burst damage set. So it's going to do weapon and spell damage, and then when you do damage with a light attack, it's going to apply a stack. When you get to 5 stacks, an undodgeable hand comes up and stuns them. But if they're already CC'd or they're on cooldown, it's going to do a lot more. It's going to do a lot of damage. And then you're immune to stacks for 4 seconds. Now, if you don't want to use Kaljar's Nightmare, I don't blame you. I think another sleeper option on Magden is Nunatak. So Nunatak is good. The reason Nunatak is good, number one, we have 44% crit. Okay, that's number one. So 44% crit is going to make us hit already hard. Plus we get the 12%. We get 12% crit chance, so, or 12% crit damage already. Plus, when you apply chilled, you get another 5 or 10%. I'm sorry, I can't remember the exact number. And then if you use Nunatak on top of that, you can also get 20% more crit damage. So you can just hit like a gosh darn truck, like honestly. And it's easy because you do frost damage and it drops on the ground, and it does AoE damage and it slows. And then you immobilize people, and then you do a bunch of damage, and then on top of it, you're getting armor for the first piece. So like, there is a big, it's good. Now the problem is people get out of it, which is the reason that I don't run it as much as I would like. I think it's a cool frost theme set, but people get out of it. That's the only problem. If you get people in it, it's insane. All right, so just keep that in mind. But it is a very good item. If you don't want to run either of those, you have another option. You could run Balorg. Okay, so another option is Balorg. Balorg is a very common set. Most people run this, I think, unless you're running like the set that gives minor courage. I can't remember it off the top of my head for some reason, but if you're running that, maybe that's one that people would run instead. Or it's Magma Incarnate. But that's an option. I mean, that's up to you. I'm trying to give you a little bit of options here. Another option you could run is, like I said, Magma Incarnate. There was one more I can't think of off the top of my head. Oh, Engine Guardian is another one you could run. I tried all of them. Right now, I like Kaljar's Nightmare just for the burst damage, but again, you could run Nunatak, you can run whatever. I mean, there's a lot of options for the build. It's very flexible. Do whatever you see fit. If you need a little bit more damage, I'd run Kaljar's Balorg. If you need a little bit more tankiness, maybe Nunatak, maybe Engine Guardian, right? It's really preference here. But either way, all of these sets are options. So we have a one-piece trainee just to push that health up a little bit because we do front bar, back bar, mythic, and then we get a one piece of trainee on the body. Then we have Nunatak again, and then we have Kalarian's Legacy on the body, Rallying Cry, right? So we're going to be running 5 ideally 511 if we can get everything in order. Now, did I get that? No. If I can get a medium shoulder, sweet. But try to get 511 if you can. That is ideal. Alright, so here we go with our mythic items. Our mythic item is Sea Serpent Coil. I haven't seen this item in a while. I don't see as many people use it as they used to, but this is a really, really good item. It's just insane how much stuff it gives. If you run a build where it lacks spell damage, you just run this and it makes up for it. The only downside is that it snares you. Now, when you're at full health, you get a big reduction to damage taken, which is nice because if a Nightblade tries to gank you, it might save your life, right? But after you take damage, you get Serpent's Rebuke, and you snare yourself by 40%, but you get Major Berserk and Major Courage, so you get 10% damage done flat, plus you get 12% from Warden, so that's 22% flat, and then you get 430 spell damage, which this is a defensive set too. Alright, keep that in mind because the 40% damage reduction, but spell damage also buffs your healing, right? We're not just thinking offensively here. This is buffing your healing as well, so that is very, very useful. Okay, this makes a big difference in survivability. 430 spell damage is a lot of spell damage. Okay, the only downside is that you're slowed, but it makes you a unit, an absolute unit on the battlefield. All right, it makes you tough to kill. Now, if you don't want to use Serpent's Coil, feel free. All right, you're just gonna have to pop on a necklace of Calirians. And then I would say run Mark and Ring of Majesty, because Mark and Ring of Majesty is similar to the Sea Serpent in a way where it gives offense and defense. It's giving weapon and spell damage plus resistance, so it's giving a balance of offense and defense. But the thing about Sea Serpent is that it slows you. Now, a good way to combat this is to just put Swift on it, right? So it slows you by 40%, but you get a 7% Swift on it. Boom, that's down to 33. And then if you use Bird of Prey, then you're at 30% movement speed, so you're pretty much at even. And then on top of it, when you run light armor, where is it? Oh, maybe the movement speed. Oh, never mind. I was wrong. I apologize. The reduced cost of sprint. I was thinking movement speed of sprint. But with that being said, you're pretty much at even when you use Swift into Bird of Prey, so it works out pretty well. And then we have Calirians. Now, you might want to go Bloodthirsty on these two if you can. Arcane's fine. You get extra pool of magic, but Bloodthirsty's insane. So that is the gear. Alright, let's talk about the skills. So on the front bar we have Inner Light. Now Inner Light is great because you get max magic, so it just makes you do a little bit more damage. If you don't want to use that for Team Util, I'd probably go Lotus Blossom because you need that crit bonus because we're really banking on our crit to do a lot of damage for us. But Lotus Blossom's good. It's a very nice set, or a very nice skill, whatever. But I would still probably go Inner Light just for the 5% extra magic to hit harder. Plus, you don't have to cast it, so it just makes things easier. Plus, it gets Nightblades out of stealth when they piss you off, so it's really nice. Here we have Deep Fissure. Alright, Deep Fissure is nice. It's going to do a ton of damage. It applies Major and Minor Breach. Very good. Bird of Prey gives you movement speed, immunity to snares, and immobilizations, and gives you 5% damage plus 4% crit damage. If you don't know, now you know, right here, okay? You get a lot of crit damage. Here we're using Fetcher Infection. Now, Fetcher Infection is the slot that if I get Scribing, I will take this out. I will go with the Rune thing, the little Rune, the Fear Rune, if I ever get the Frost thing. If I ever get that, I'll probably run that instead of Fetcher. Do I see myself getting Scribing soon? Yeah, but I also have to grind it, and I don't feel like doing all that. I'm going away next week, so I ain't got time. But Fetcher Infection is a must-have for me right now. It also applies Minor Vulnerability and does a lot of damage. Force Pulse here, alright, just for a nice burst. This is our spammable. It does AoE damage, which is really, really nice, to be honest. But yeah, that's what I'm using. If you want to use Frost Cleanse, have fun. If you want to use, I don't know, the other more Crushing Shock, have fun. If you want to use, Dive, have a great time doing it. I mean, this is all a preference here. Whatever you want to use. I like Force Pulse for the AoE, plus it just feels smooth when I light attack weave. Northern Storm is our big ult. If you use Balorg, this is the one. This is where it hits hard. So it's gonna do a ton of damage. Either way, even if you don't use Balorg, it's still gonna hit like a friggin' truck. But yeah, very good. They buffed it recently, and it's just really good. Here we're using Ice Fortress, Living Trellis. Now this is a flex spot as well. I like Living Trellis because of the burst heal. Because if I'm like kiting around a pole or something like this, I can pop Trellis behind it into my polar wind, and I kind of get a big heal out of it. But that's completely preference. Now, if you want in a team fight or in like a BG, you could use Radiating Regen to just buff up your healing numbers, because the nice thing about it is that it won't go on anyone else. The only thing about Living Trellis is that it only goes on one person, so like you might have to cast it multiple times just to get it on yourself. That's why sometimes I use Radiating Regen instead, but this is preference. Here we're using Polar Wind for the big burst heal. It heals your teammates for a lot. It gives you a heal over time. I mean, it's just a good heal. It's really good. Here we're using Crystal Slab. Now, this is another flex spot. Now, something to note is that if you run Kaljar's Nightmare, alright, so Kaljar's Nightmare is actually a CC. Okay, so if you don't want to use Crystal Slab, use the other morph, and it's going to give you Major Heroism. Alright, so you could essentially use Kaljar's Nightmare as your CC, and then you could turn this into the Major Heroism version. Now, that's completely preference again. Like, this is the kind of stuff you test out. Overall, I think it's better to just use this one, but Major Heroism does make a big difference. But also, Crystal Slab is a CC to where it's like a defensive CC, like people attack you and it stuns them instead of you having to go attack them with Kaljar's Nightmare. So, like, there's a trade-off to it. I think this morph's overall better, but I'm just trying to give you a thought of, like, maybe something you could use. It's up to you. Blue Betty is our must-have. It's a cleanse, you know, it's a sorcery buff, whatever. Also, I didn't know this. They just must have changed this. If no negative effects are removed, you instead increase your damage done by 5% for 5 seconds. I didn't know that. That's new. I literally never knew that was a thing. So if you don't have anything to cleanse, which you're probably always going to have a cleanse, you get 5% damage done. So that's cool. And then here we have Healing Thicket. I like Healing Thicket just because it's only 97. Like, you could go and use, what's the Life Giver, I think? Yeah, this one. It's a lot more expensive, but it does heal better. I mean, Healing Thicket's good. It's nice to drop on the ground if you're in a team fight. It heals for a ton, but it's, again, this is all, I'm just trying to give you options here. So that's what we run. CP, I'll show you that in a minute. So we're using a Salve of Renewal. Now, I don't know how I feel about this one yet, but I'm going to give it more of a chance. It's a nice cleanse, or a nice heal when you cleanse. Master at Arms, Backstabber, and Ironclad. Bastion, Pain's Refuge, Fortified, and Boundless Vitality. I don't know if I'm going to keep using Bastion. I'll probably change it, but just because I don't really care that much about the Crystal Slab being that important, like, I'd rather just use something else. But we'll see. We'll see. So that's what we're using. Make sure you comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you would change, if you would change anything. And enjoy the little gameplay I put. It's only a few minutes long. It just shows me healing, getting a few kills. And yeah. So peace out. Have a good one. See ya.